testimony today is released. I hope it will motivate everyone to go in front of Congress to say what they know. I hope it will motivate the Justice Department to finally release all the files and to ensure that this never happens again. The survivors deserve that. I had long stopped associating with it. When the video of my testimony today is released, I hope it will motivate everyone to go in front of Congress to say what they know. I hope it will motivate the Justice Department to finally release all the files and to ensure that this never happens again. The survivors deserve that. I had long stopped associating.
Oh, my stomach. Oh, Lord. Hey guys, it is Grady Trimble of Fox Business here at Chicago O'Hare International Airport. We are monitoring once again TSA wait times, which have been increasing because the government is partially shut down right now. Democrats have blocked funding to DHS, which means TSA agents aren't getting paid right now, which has led to some of them calling out during the shutdown, and that's leading to long TSA checkpoint wait times at airports across the country. I want to show you the look behind me here. If you can zoom in, Dino, to what you can see. They kind of block off with partitions the TSA checkpoint here at O'Hare. But you can see that things are actually running smoothly at this particular TSA checkpoint, not like we've seen at other airports across the country over the last week or so as spring break travel ramps up. Particularly, we're following the situation at Austin Bergstrom International Airport in Texas today, because earlier this morning, around 5:30 in the morning, there were extremely long lines. Hard to believe how long they are when you see the videos sometimes. The line was stretching all the way outside the terminal, and local media there was reporting that people were missing their flights because the line was so long and they weren't able to make it through TSA in time to catch those flights. So at the core of this problem is the fact that TSA workers haven't been paid since the start of the government shutdown. Today, Friday, March 13th, is the first day that those TSA workers will receive a paycheck of $0, meaning they received a partial paycheck earlier on during the shutdown because of time that they had worked before the government shutdown. And now they're receiving $0 on their paycheck for time that they've worked during the shutdown while DHS remains unfunded. What happened to their $10,000 bonuses? Checkpoints. What happened to that? Is that it's just unpredictable which airport is going to experience those problems each day. We see that it's Austin today, but you remember last weekend it was Atlanta's airport. There were issues at Philadelphia earlier in the week where they had to shut down a pre-check line because they didn't have enough agents to staff the regular line. So they used the pre-check agents over at the regular line. And we've just seen these issues cropping up all over the country. If you're traveling, the advice from some airports is to arrive extremely early, much earlier than you ordinarily would for your flights. While we do this live stream, I want to let you know that I'm also taking questions. If you're on X or on Facebook Live, happy to answer questions if you have concerns about specific airports or specific flights. I'll be monitoring those questions and trying to answer them for you if I can. Another concern that we're seeing is the TSA workers who are obviously having a hard time getting by right now. Some of them may be living paycheck to paycheck ordinarily. So now, when they haven't received a paycheck in some time, they are struggling. And to that end, some airports are soliciting donations on their behalf. We know of at least 3 of the major airports across the country that are asking people to donate for those TSA agents. So we know that the Denver airport is asking people to donate $10 or $20 gas or grocery gift cards for workers so that they can put gas in their car and come into work and also feed their families at home.
Yeah, that donate money so they can get to work,
Harry
not for the
Reid,
bills. Y'all want them to donate money to the airport so the workers can get to work and work for free. Let's start there.
Supplies that TSA workers might need during the shutdown, and the Seattle airport has done the same thing. I'm monitoring your questions as they come in on this live stream. One of the questions is, what has been the biggest issue airports are facing? Is it security lines or staffing flights and gates? Pretty simple answer to that. It's the security lines. Staffing flights and gates is up to the airlines. So, for example, if you're flying United out of Chicago, the person who's at the gate, that's going to be a United employee who makes the boarding announcements for you to get on your flight. So that's not an issue right now. It's actually getting through.
Shut it up. I'm coming.
It's strictly those TSA workers who are impacted by this government shutdown. But then, of course, the airlines are impacted because people see this and they say, oh, maybe I'm not going to take that flight. If you're traveling for work, maybe you postpone your work trip. And so there is an economic trickle down effect to the airlines themselves. And of course, I mentioned that it's the busy spring break travel period right now. There's another question that just came in. Is there any increased talk from airlines or lawmakers about privatizing TSA so these issues don't persist in the future? That's a good question, and it's something that I covered during the previous government shutdown last year when it was air traffic controllers who weren't coming in and flights were getting delayed because there was a lack of air traffic controllers. You might remember that actually during President Trump's first term, he kind of floated the idea of privatizing air traffic control. Some other countries do have private air traffic controllers, but this time around, there didn't seem to be an appetite for that, and I don't think there would be an appetite to privatize TSA agents either, because after all, they are agents who work for Homeland Security. Remember, this department was set up in the first place after 9/11 to keep the homeland safe, and that, of course, includes here at the airports. So there's been no talk of privatizing TSA, but what there has been talk of on Capitol Hill is funding DHS again. And it's kind of been this back and forth, the blame game between Democrats and Republicans. Earlier this week, Democrats put forward a proposal to fund DHS except for Border Patrol and ICE. That's the root of this conversation right now, is funding for ICE and Border Patrol, because Democrats were unhappy about those operations, for example, in Minneapolis and other ongoing ICE operations across the country. Republicans, on the other hand, say just fund DHS entirely, and this whole problem with air travel goes away. Republicans have put forward a proposal to fund DHS, which would effectively end this partial government shutdown, and Democrats shot that down because they see leverage in this shutdown to make some reforms or changes to ICE and Border Patrol. So that answers one of the questions we just got on our live stream about what is the latest on funding for DHS. As of right now, there's no real concrete path forward because Democrats don't want to fund Border Patrol and ICE as part of their proposal, and Republicans want to fund DHS entirely, and they don't want to withdraw or leave out funding in their proposal for those Border Patrol agents and ICE. Does the newly named DHS director have any impact on ending the shutdown? That is a question that we just got from our live stream. It's a good question, but remember, Kristi Noem is still the DHS administrator as of right now. She's stepping down, according to at the end of this month. And Senator Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma is going to step into that role, but he doesn't take control over DHS until the end of the month. And once he's confirmed by the Senate, I guess you could say that he does play a role in ending the government shutdown in that he is a senator and the Senate and
Come on, Tete.
are responsible to end the shutdown. As far as operations related to DHS goes, other than his single vote as a senator of Oklahoma. Another thing that is really ramping up pressure for lawmakers to fund DHS is these problems that we're seeing at airports across the country, and the fact that today is the first day that these TSA workers are receiving a zero paycheck. By the way, I should point out it's 100,000 DHS workers across the country within other departments of the Department of Homeland Security. It's not just TSA workers, but that's where we're seeing the most tangible impacts. And that's where we're seeing impacts to the general public, because anyone who flies goes through a TSA checkpoint. And if they don't show up and there are issues, then they're going to feel it firsthand, people in the general public. There's another question that just came. Are airlines credits refunds for passengers affected, or have they been left to figure it out on their own? So typically what happens if you miss your flight, you may not be offered a refund, but the airlines will offer replacement flight maybe that day or the next day or whenever it's convenient for your travel. I haven't seen any airlines offering refunds specifically related to the shutdown. Might be something that passengers start calling for if this thing drags on. And as of right now, my understanding is that if you're waiting in a long line at TSA, you don't get in.
I just don't understand. Customers don't stop paying. Why the workers stop getting paid? Because it's not a money problem, but the money coming in. The government shut down, so the workers don't get their pay, even though they still collect from customers.
Get a travel credit. And so, fact of the matter is, some people might be considering doing that right now because they don't want to show up.
Get in your house. Get in your house. Get in your house.
State that I've actually flown several over the past week.
Get in your house, Chaco. Get in your house.
Experience at TSA checkpoints. But that's part of the problem with this is it's inconsistent. You don't know if you're going to show up that day and there are going to be issues. For example, at O'Hare today, looks like the line's running smoothly. It says on the board over there that it's a 5-minute wait at TSA. But then those passengers who showed up in Austin, Texas this morning for their flights there, and they saw lines that went all the way outside of the terminal. So the unpredictability of it is extremely frustrating for passengers. And it's also led the airports to tell people to arrive several hours before they ordinarily would for their flights. Austin's airport said because of high volumes during spring break travel that people should show up for their flights 3 hours before they're supposed to leave. That's extremely unusual. I fly all the time for work, and I have never showed up to the airport